Hi guys, you are welcome to my channel. My name is Olivia, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to cut and sew a lace skirt. So if this is something you are interested in, then please keep on watching. So I'll start with a setting. That is what I'll use to cut the inner skirt, that's to line the lace, and mostly it is shorter than the lace. So I'm going to use quarter of my hip, and I'll add 2 inches for sewing allowance. So that will be the amount of fabric I need to fold. So I'm beginning with the front, which is always on fold, right? So at this point I'm just marking 12 inches. Now for the length of the inner one, which is the setting, you need to measure how long you want that one, and you also need to determine the length of the lace. So what I'm making right now is a straight dress, so I'm going to subtract my half length from the whole full length. All right, then the measurements I get, I'll use it for the skirt part of the dress. Meanwhile, the inner one is short, so I'll subtract that, and whatever measurement I get, I'll add half into that measurement so as to join it to the upper part. Now I'm using the selvage of the satin. So if you don't want to use the selvage, then you should add 1 inch to the hem of the skirt to fold it. So now from the starting line or the waistline of the skirt, waist to hip measurement, which is 9, and if you don't know how to get a hip, you divide your waist by 4 and then you add extra 2 inches to that, and you add half inch to it, which will serve as joining allowance. Okay, so on the waistline I'll input quarter of the waist, and then I'll add 2 inches for sewing allowance. I do have a tutorial on how to make a detailed basic skirt. Feel free to check it out in the description box. So on the hip, quarter of the hip plus 2 inches, and at the lower part, which is the hem of the skirt, I'll subtract 1.5 from the measurement I have on the hip, and I'll input that on the hem. Now if you want the skirt to be fitted, then you subtract 2 inches, but in this case I'm going to subtract 1.5 from that, and I'll input it on the lower part. Then I'll go ahead and connect my points together. Now from the hip, I usually like to come down by 1 inch just to prevent any pointed hip, and then I'll connect them together. From the center of the skirt, I'll come down by 1 inch, and then I'll connect from that 1 inch to my waistline. Now I'm going to cut this out because I'll use the front to cut the back. So for the back, we need a zipper allowance, right? So I'll first draw a very straight line. That will be the center back, and that is where I'll place the center of the front. That's the folded part of the front. I'll place it right on the straight line. So here I will draw out the shape of the front, and from the center of the back I'll come in by 1 inch just like this, and I'll determine the hip line from the front to the back. Then I'll connect from that 1 inch from the waistline to the hip line like this. So that is our new center back. So from there, I'll start marking my zipper allowance. So because I took 1 inch from the waistline, that's the back, that means there will be a shortage. So I'll replace that 1 inch. And I'll connect from that point to the hip line like this. So since I'll be joining the skirt to the upper part, I'll take 1 inch from the center back just to prevent the zip from folding, after fixing the zip. And then I'll connect that to the waistline. If this will be a normal straight skirt, then there is no need to take off any 1 inch from the center back. So now the length of the lace is different from the inner one, which is the satin. I'm going to subtract my half length from the full length of the dress. That is how long you want the lace to be. There is a difference. So I'll determine that just like the way I started cutting the skirt. So I'll determine the length and then also add half inch for joining allowance. And if you would hem the lower part of the lace, then you add your hemming allowance to that. It's usually half inch. That's if you don't have a nice lace selvage. Alright, so I'll place the front. I'll start with the front. So I'll place the front on the lace following the waistline of the waist. Now I took off half inch from the center front, so that should show when you are placing the satin on the lace, just like you are seeing. So from the hem of the lace, I'll draw a straight line to meet the satin, just like this, and then I'll cut it out. If the lace is longer than mine, that's the excess, then you should do same, just draw a straight line. Alright, so I'll go ahead and also cut the back just like I did for the front. So I'll place the back on it like this and I'll cut out. Now I will notch the center of the front for both the main piece and the lining. And for the satin and the lace, the satin, the shiny part is supposed to face upwards, right? So I want to neaten the sides of the lace. So what I'm going to do is to turn the satin to the wrong side like this, and then I'll place the right side of the lace on the wrong side of the satin, so that by the time I stitch and turn it, the right side of the satin will face upwards. You get? So I'll go ahead and pin the sides of the skirt. Then I'll stitch them just with 1/4 of an inch. I'll repeat same to the back. So this is the wrong side of the back. I'll place the right side of the lace onto the wrong side of the satin, and I'll stitch and then I'll turn it inside out. So this is after I stitch with just 1/4 inch. I'll go ahead and turn it inside out. And then I'll give it a good press. So now I'll pin the waist together and then I'll stitch with 1/4 inch. That is after turning it inside out, just to keep them in place. So in case you added hemming allowance to the setting, make sure you hem it before you stitch the sides. Alright, so I'm done. The rest is to just join the upper part to the lower part, fix the zipper and join the sides, and I'll be done with this dress. I hope this video was helpful to you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Do well to turn on your post notification bell, so anytime I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.